The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
So when are we going to make the Ink and Paint Club movie?
I mean, when we do episodes that are more like than an hour long, we're basically doing a movie.
But we got to have like a plot, though, that's so absurd, but is somewhat thematically tied to our core content.
You know what an absurd plot for this show would be? Having consistent scheduling.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, a proud member of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network.
Well, hello, everybody. It's time for the Ink and Paint Club podcast. My name is JD, and I'm joined by my good bestest friend in the whole land, Kyle.
Hey.
And I guess Matt's here too.
Yes, I am. Rickety Biscuits. I'm here, y'all.
This week we are talking about a little film that dropped on Netflix recently. You may have heard of it, maybe not. I don't know your life. We are talking about Arlo the Alligator Boy. I know this movie mostly because Kyle and I both know a few people that worked on this movie, so they've been advertising for it like crazy. And you know what? I didn't expect much going to this movie, but I'm just going to say up front, I found it very charming.
Yeah, no, it was a fun watch.
Yeah.
Did you want to shout out your friends that worked on the movie?
So shout out to Bonnie and her husband who work over at Titmouse, and John Barry, who also did a handful of scenes on this movie. So no, I actually kind of enjoyed this, despite some of the elements of it that are usually not my bag. Which I will get into, but no, everyone who worked on this, they should not just because we know each other, but they should all feel proud of what they put together. It was a charming little film that is going to become a TV show in the future.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the thought behind this is that this is just like a really long pilot episode, because when they announced the movie, I believe they announced the show like at the same time that they announced the movie. So I guess Netflix just saw something in it immediately and just wanted a whole show, or I don't really know exactly how that came about. If maybe the show was originally pitched first and they decided, oh, well, let's do like a prequel movie of them, all these characters sort of meeting along the journey or something like that. Kind of hard to tell, what came first.
Yeah. Kyle, you're also friends with Bonnie. What did you think about the movie?
Oh, I don't think Bonnie worked on this movie.
Did she not?
I think only Bill worked on this movie.
Oh, I thought Bonnie worked on it too. My bad.
No, sir. I believe Bonnie's working on Tuca and Birdie right now.
Okay. Well,
Nice.
she was campaigning for it at least, so that's probably why I got confused.
That's easy enough if you're for the same studio and stuff. That makes sense.
But anyway, continue, Kyle.
I liked it. It was a fun movie, but not really into the musical segments. It's not my type of music.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too about that, because I know you two are historically not that into musicals.
So,
musicals are fine. It's just I'm not into that type, because this is very
poppy,
top 40s. Well, yeah, top 40s pop music. I'm really not into that.
Yeah,
you can
that's
already tell with the main voice actor being an American Idol finalist. I'm really not into that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure I've said it many times in this show, I'm famously not into musicals, which is shocking because of who I'm married to. But yeah, I honestly wasn't too bothered by the music in this movie. And I think it's kind of because that the music in this movie except for like maybe one or two songs. They didn't seem like movies. The songs that they sound like songs you could probably hear on the radio, that weren't like directly speaking to what was going on in the scene or the characters, what the character was feeling or like going on in that scene. More like it felt like more thematically.
Well, see, it's
Like-
not obnoxious like say Trolls, where it's just a bunch of bullshit
Covers.
rolled into one. Yeah, this is more original.
Yeah, like I mean, the songs are written for the movie, but the style of song is not like show tuney or like how Disney does things. It feels like a song you would just hear normally in everyday life. Like if I heard this like over the intercom while I'm grocery shopping, I wouldn't bat an eye at it.
It's funny that you brought up Trolls because the person that worked on the music for this film, it was Alex Garingas, I believe his name is, but I think he is working on Trollstopia, which is that.
Maybe they'll have some original shit in that.
Maybe.
Well, no, yeah, because I think there was Trolls. The Beat Goes On was on Netflix, and this Trollstopia one is like on Hulu, I think. So, yeah, they're working on that, and then they worked on other stuff in the past. They worked on the new SpongeBob movie. They worked with Hans Zimmer with composing on that or writing the music, either or. But yeah, so it was them, and then was it Ryan Craig who directed and did the screenplay and the story and stuff, wrote all the music as well.
Interesting.
And that was the other thing too. I did a quick IMDb on him just before the episode because he doesn't have a wiki article, so I wasn't sure if this was like his first production or like what else he had done in the past. And this is his first feature, but he had also directed a bunch of episodes of Sanjay and Craig, and then he's just produced and done like art on a bunch of other DreamWorks stuff like Puss in Boots and Shrek and Kung Fu Panda, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is like their first big feature, and so I guess they had it in with Netflix from producing some like of the DreamWorks Netflix show type stuff. Like I know they worked on like the Home series, so that was how they got the in with Netflix, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, this is it's a weird movie, and not just because part of it's weird because it is very much a pilot episode technically, and there are a lot of things that are not fully explored or like resolved, because I assume that it will be resolved or explored in the TV show. But yeah, it's just it's a weird, fun little movie. It's about this little alligator boy named Arlo. I guess you could just infer that. Is Mosesed into the ocean from New York down, and is found by a swamp lady. Grows up in the swamp, but dreams for bigger things, like you do. And then finds out he has a dad in New York, and along the way teams up with a bunch of other what's
mutants.
What's mutants. Yes, I was trying to just think of like a better way of phrasing
colorful characters.
Thank you. That is what I was thinking of. A bunch of colorful characters, and they all travel up to New York and they learn the real meaning of family all on the way.
All while being chased by Crocodile Farm people.
Yeah, just like hillbilly swamp people.
Yeah.
What do you do? But like Kyle kind of alluded to, Arlo himself is voiced by Michael Woodward, who I guess was a finalist on American Idol. I don't watch that show, so I don't know that. But you've got some other names that are a little more recognizable. Tony Hale, probably know his voice actor, worked on Arrested Development, voicing Tony. You've got Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is voicing one of the hillbillies. Jennifer Coolidge, Annie Potts is in this.
Brett Gelman, on the Stranger Things, and he's been on a bunch of like comedies, or he's been on like Adult Swim stuff before.
Mm-hmm. So there is a handful of like notable people in this, but it's not like to the point where it's like distracting or anything. And I think everyone did a pretty good job.
It was something that I wanted to note though, because this is the only instance where I saw them make an allusion to their voice actor. And I mentioned to you guys ahead of the recording, but it was there's a character Felicia, which is like this hairball on like legs, and they're voiced by Jonathan Van Ness, who is one of the hosts on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, I think. And it was funny because when I was looking through the voice cast for the movie while I was watching it, I came upon that name and like I clicked on it, and as soon as there's a scene in the movie where Felicia goes to a hairdresser, and like I had the picture pulled up of the voice actor, and then I saw this hairdresser character, and I was like, oh my god, it's the voice actor for this character interacting with a hairdresser that looks exactly like him. Like I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know if there's anything else quite like that in this movie. Not that I noticed anyway, like at least for the names I saw, like I didn't see anybody look like, Brett Gelman or Tony Hale or anything, or Flea, but
I mean, Tiny Tony, like, kind of looks like his voice actor a little bit. If Tony Hale's a tiny rat man.
And like had a little mustache and a tail and
was like almost like stereotypically Italian at points.
Yeah. So stereotypically Italian, like swinging a pizza going, oh, the pepperoni had burned so much, it's what I deserved.
Speaking, like, kind of somewhat related, I wish a lot more streaming services did, like, there is one thing about Amazon Prime that I actually think they do better than the other streaming services, is that when you pause whatever you're watching, they will tell you what actors are in that scene and have like little pictures of them at the bottom and their name and stuff.
Oh, wow.
I wish more people would do that. So, because sometimes I'll be like watching an animated thing. I'm like, oh, who is that? Or, I don't like the voice sounds familiar or whatever. And I just pause it on Amazon and I'm like, oh, it's that guy.
It does it specifically like based on the scene.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's whoever's in that specifically in the scene. It'll just have like, it'll just pop up whoever's in that specific scene.
That's wild. That's
so it fluctuates depending on where in the movie or the show you're watching.
Right. Sounds pretty damn ambitious. I can see why nobody else really attempts that.
It's crazy, man. I don't know if they have like someone who sits through it and like does it, but
I mean, I imagine this is like for live action stuff mostly.
I've been watching Invincible, and they maybe it's for like Amazon original stuff, but like I was watching Invincible and they do it.
If it was just Amazon original stuff, that probably makes sense. But
it might. I don't know if they do it for everything. But right. I've just been watching Invincible lately, and I've watched a few other things on Amazon, and they do that. What, Kyle?
That it's for everything.
Oh wow.
We've watched movies and seen it.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely see that as being a thing that other services pick up as a feature, like as time goes on, for sure. Because that's like,
I definitely find it handy.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about the story a bit, but yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say actually in regards to the story, because it's a very simple premise.
It is a series. It is a series of things that happen.
Yeah, because I mean it's a musical and everything, so you're basically just getting scenes in like to sort of fill in the time between the music happening.
Well, it's just one of the typical found family stories that they've been doing lately.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about how like all the main characters, they're all like, this world is full of like, humans, but then like there's these characters that are like, not necessarily, they're like half human, I guess. Because we talked only about half the characters. There's Arlo, the title character. There is Tiny Tony, who is like a little Italian like rat person.
He's literally like half. He's like a man, but he also has a tail and like rat teeth.
Yeah.
And he's also like a foot tall.
There's Aaliyah, who's just like a little tiger girl. There is Marcellus, who's like this fucking half fish on top of like a man's
Fat man
legs.
body.
Yeah.
And he has like fucking PTSD from being in an aquarium.
In the tank. Yeah. There's Felicia, who I mentioned, and then there's Birdie, who's like this, who's like the most human out of them all, but she's just like really like enormous. She's like really tall and like beefy, like.
Yeah, it says she's a giantess, so she's probably got some giant in her or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's weird because the rest of these are all like, well, I guess with the exception of Felicia, but like the rest of these are all like animal themed. So
yeah,
I guess yeah, and so in that regard, that's something that the movie doesn't really explain. Like, you know, why there's why there are these characters that are, you know, different in this way, which is fine. Like, you know, that's not something you have to necessarily explore. I feel like this is something that they're definitely probably not going to touch on in the show though either. I think this is just like a, hey, you know, people are going to be different, and they're just different, you know, because they are.
It was strange because I feel like outside of like the main characters who are supposed to be non-humans, I think I didn't see a lot of other non-humans in the world.
Well, I mean, you know, they're populating the world, but not any specific, like aside from like the hillbillies.
Kyle, you were saying something?
The whole thing about embracing weirdness is all it is. So you want the main cast to stick out from everybody else.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Although if we're talking specifically for the humans, my favorite scene was they end up in New York City, and like they park the car and it gets towed away, and there's a scene there where like, you know, actually this is something that happens throughout their whole half of the movie that takes place in New York. Basically, you just hear like characters like every now and then just going, "Hey, I'm walking here," but there's one like scene specifically where it's like character after character after character going like, "Hey, I'm walking here. Hey, I'm walking here. Hey, I'm walking here." And then there's like a baby just comes out of the carriage, just goes walking. Like it gave me like a really big fucking laugh.
Well, at the end of the movie where they're rebuilding that town, they look under the dock and there's like a pumpkin kid. So there are people kind of hanging out. So I'm pretty sure they're going to touch into this on the
show,
maybe the TV show.
Right.
Yeah. It's weird because I looked on TV tropes just for like any little extra tidbits I might have missed, but there was a note on that little pumpkin-headed person that you see at the end there. Apparently, that was part of like a different story. I think that was related to the Aaliyah, the tiger girl. I think that was supposed to be like a friend of hers or something. I think that was like an unexplored thing, I think, for the movie that they'll probably save for the show, I guess.
They don't even really get much into her character. She's just kind of got
she's the driver.
Lines.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like other than Arlo and Birdie, I feel like a lot of the other characters don't like they don't get a lot of depth. The character like doesn't get in depth a lot.
Yeah, I think like
just kind of there to move the plot along.
Yeah,
Tony and Felicia had a scene at least to themselves.
Yeah, but yeah, Aaliyah, the little tiger girl, yeah, she doesn't really. She mostly just gets like a lot of the driving segments. So I guess that was kind of like a purpose for this, but I'm sure that's
like Marlee's just the fish man. Like I feel like you could cut him from the movie and nothing would be, even though I love him.
Right. And no, he had some good like, you know, jokes to yeah, this is just one of those things where, you know, I feel like when the show comes out, they're going to develop these characters a lot more, and they'll give them more interesting things to do. Like yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wonder how this would have gone if they would have done the show first and then like done the movie afterward to show like how they all met or something, like, because then you would have been already accustomed to these characters, and to see how like they all came together would have been interesting. But even then, like, because they come together very quickly. Like the movie is only like
it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half. But I mean, like they it doesn't take like much effort for them to just sort of like start grouping up and just like go on this journey together. Like well, you said, it feels like a lot of these characters, aside from, you know, Birdie, And even then, like, of course, the movie's centered mostly around Arlo, just like in his sort of journey to meet his dad and avoid the Gator Farm people.
Jeremy Snow here, owner and editor-in-chief of The Geekly Grind. I'm interrupting your awesome, regularly scheduled programming to ensure that you know about our Geekly Grind podcast network, of which this show is a treasured member of. If you haven't had a chance to check out our site, you can do so at www.thegeeklygrind.com, and while you're there, check out the other members of our steadily growing podcast family, including the anime-centric Blake and Spencer Get Jumped, discovering new heroes and comic book keepers with Chris and Lance, exploring the vast universe of geekdom with Geeksploration, or of course appreciating animation's finer details with the Ink and Paint Club. Escape your weekly grind at The Geekly Grind.
Which I want to talk about his dad. I feel like the dad is like the weakest part of this movie. Foremost, I think his songs are the weakest in this movie because I feel like those are like half-assed Disney-esque songs. Because I feel like all the other songs in the movie are, like I said, are like radio songs, but his song was just like very much for the movie kind of song.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you kind of like take into consideration how the rest of the songs are all very much in that style of like, top 40, like, poppy, hits and stuff. And then like what basically sort of amounts to like a quote unquote villain song being something from like, like Disney styled, like, music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could infer anything from that, if that was intentional.
I don't know. It just, to me, it seemed off because it was like the one song that was like that and the rest of them weren't. But also like he's like, yeah, so Arlo like finds his dad and his dad's like, no, I don't have a son. You must be mistaken or whatever. And it's just because he doesn't want to show off that he's a bird man, because people made fun of him when he was growing up. So he's been trying to hide being a bird man.
Yeah, which is like, yeah, okay. I guess you can kind of just like gather from that the sort of success in the world is, not measured based on success. Is more just like being normal, I guess.
You can't succeed if you're weird.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed him as a kid getting made fun of, so it's kind of obvious you don't want to show that side of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. Like as far as the songs go, like his were the weakest. I do like the reprise that Arlo has of one of his songs, though. That was actually, I think it was because one of his songs is called "Better Life," and then there's that scene when he sort of sends Arlo away, and Arlo does like a reprise of that, and I think on the soundtrack it's called "The Collage of Broken Dreams," and it's that scene where he's like going through the city, he's like stripping off the clothes, and like he's sort of like in like the graffiti, like chalk graffiti, and he's sort of interacting with that scene. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Actually, there's like a lot of cool like visual effects and stuff, but then also the actual song itself is so cool.
It just bothered me because they painted the dead out as this monster, and he wasn't even like all the drawings had him with like evil eyes and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, he wasn't even bad in that.
Like his character design is even kind of like villain-esque.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's about though.
Yeah,
because he has a bird nose and everything about him is bird-wise.
Right.
I guess the idea behind making this sort of representation of him out to be like really evil, even though he wasn't, was just based on perception. From Arlo, just because it's like that's supposed to be his dad, and like he's not owning up to it, and it's just
it's a bait and switch.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I can see why they would have stylized
and
it
then
that way.
Even the quote unquote bad guys at the end, they're like, you know what, we were wrong about you the whole time. And then they go back, and there's not really a lot of comeuppance there, but whatever.
Yeah, so
you need comeuppance.
No, I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying there's like there is technically there's antagonists in this. Not really, kind of whatever.
Yeah. So in the same way that you're saying that you could probably lose Marcellus the Fishman and like still have the movie like basically be about the same. I feel like it's basically that way with the Hillbillies too. Like
the Hillbillies are the inciting the inciting incident, but quickly, like, there's parts of the movie I forget that they're actually in the movie. They kind of just show up again. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot they're in this thing.
Yeah, and I doubt that those characters are going to show back up in the show or anything like that.
They'll show up and they'll be like best buds or whatever.
Or maybe they will. I don't know.
They'll show up in the show and just be the Team Rocket.
There you go.
That could work. And that's just their whole goal every episode is to try to catch Arlo to put in their gator farm.
Yeah, or they could make a freak circus or something and want to capture everybody. Who knows?
There you go, man.
Yeah, maybe. Did we mention you mentioned Arlo's like adoptive like sort of grandmom, right?
Yeah, he is a lady swamp woman. Just kind of finds him because he floats in his basket up to her swamp thing. I kind of love his grandma, aunt, whatever.
Edme.
Or
Edme, sorry.
Edme. But I just love that she's this fucking weird swamp lady who lives out in the swamp, and the reason she lives out there is because she's on the run from the law.
Yeah, no, her character's like really fun. I liked her like little.
Keep saying how she's like the cops will never find her, and she's not going back to jail.
It's kind of a shitty explanation though to just like write her off, because you can have her not join that new town that they had, which is kind of sad.
Well, I feel like she's Arlo sent that postcard at the end, like inviting her, like, oh, you should come visit her or something. So I'm sure she's gonna show up again.
Hopefully, because it would be dumb to write her off like that.
Well, this is the way that they'll do that. They'll say that the cops finally caught up with her in the swamp, and now she's going back into hiding. And what was the name of the community? It was Seashore. Seaside Seashores. I know it was based on the seashells thing, but I couldn't remember the exact name. Yeah, that'll be the way that they put her in there.
The thing that I'm wondering is if they actually do the TV show and all this kind of stuff, if it doesn't go into development hell or whatever, if the voice actors are going to stay. Usually in the big budget movie, they have the big actors and then they get like sound alikes and shit.
So, okay. Normally, I would agree with you, but I think the trailer for it literally just went up today. There's this anime that Netflix is putting out. Okay, the title of it just escaped me, but it is basically about like a black samurai in like feudal Japan, but also there's magic and shit because it's fucking anime. But the main actor is fucking Lakeith Stanfield, who like just was nominated for an Oscar yesterday.
Well, I mean, I think it's more just speaking to the fact that that's how it's been for a long time. I feel like now with sort of Netflix, like all the money they're throwing behind doing their animation and stuff, like, I mean, because they just I mean, I could definitely see all the voice actors from this production showing up in the show, especially because they had it all planned like ahead of time. Like,
and honestly, it's like you have Tony Hale who does a lot of voice acting anyway, and the other two like big like celebrity names, I guess, would be Annie Potts and Jennifer Coolidge. But like, what the fuck else have they been doing? So like, what else they got going on?
The thing with like the Trolls TV show was Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake in it.
Right. I feel like because this is a series that's originating on Netflix, though, that they'll keep the voice cast. Well, because the other note I was going to make too is that they're not a stranger to having like big name actors doing like full voice work for like shows on here. The example I was trying to think of like a minute ago was Green Eggs and Ham. They have Michael Douglas, voicing one of the main characters for all the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not unheard of. It's just not common. Not really right now.
And I just want to take this opportunity to say I am very impressed with how Netflix is just like throwing themselves full force into original animation. Just like the way they've been developing like both like American cartoons and anime. Like they're just like developing their own projects or like having other studios make stuff specifically for them. And they've been putting out a lot of good stuff in the last couple of years. So I mean, like I'm very much behind Netflix, like just having a lot of these like creator driven, just interesting original projects.
Yeah, I mean, varied, genres, varied age groups. They're touching a lot of different bases, and that's cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. So, good on you, Netflix. Way to invest in animation. Good for you.
There was something I meant to mention when we were talking about Birdie earlier. She makes a mention of her being that way because she's vegan, right? But she mentioned it's the one time when she's introduced and it never comes up again.
Yeah.
And of course, when I think of vegan, I think superpowers. I think of
Scott Pilgrim.
I think of Todd Ingram and Scott Pilgrim. Like, I thought that was pretty funny because I was expecting her to like do the same shit, like, doing like the telekinesis and like the glowing eyes.
She's basically just the Hulk.
Essentially, yeah, she's the muscle for sure.
Yeah, she has super jump, she has super strength. She a big lady.
Yeah, she is. I just remembered something else that was when they're on the train and they're being chased, and the hillbillies go to check the train cars and stuff, and they open one up, and it's just it's a cow and a cat, and they're just like making out.
And they just kind of pause on it for a second.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like,
my lifestyle.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's just like weird, like offbeat, like little jokes here and there like that. It's
like the sense of humor is like very
strange.
Quirky. It's very strange and quirky, but like sometimes in like the best way.
Yeah, I mean, it fits how kind of weird and quirky the main characters are.
You kind of mentioned the scene earlier, but like one of the scenes that really made me laugh is like when they first get to park in front of a theater. It's like, oh, it's fine if we park here, right? It's like, yeah, and they just get up and leave, and like it's immediately towed.
Yeah, because they're like towed like to the opposite direction.
Like they haven't even gotten 5 feet from the van before it's towed off.
Yeah,
and it's just gone.
I'm not sure if it just coincidentally looked like one, but there's a scene where Tiny Tony goes to use the payphone. Did you guys happen to notice there's like a post-it note that's like a light blue post-it note, and it looks like a drawing of a whooper from Pokemon?
I did not notice that.
Did you notice that, Kyle?
I didn't see that either. I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah, it looks a lot like a whooper. I'm sure it's just coincidentally looks like one, but I figured of like the light blue hue of the post-it note, like it could potentially be intentional. I don't know. That was like the only real like sort of Easter egg sort of doodle that I kind of saw in the movie, but still is pretty funny.
Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention to the backgrounds. I don't know if there was any kind of background references or anything in there.
That was the only one that I really, that was the only one that I really picked out.
I showed Matt earlier that Bill's in this movie.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's during the first scene where they Arlo sees the boat and he's like imagining dancing on it.
Oh, is Bill one of the people on the boat?
Seemingly, yeah.
Oh, hey, there he is. That's fun. I do like that when fucking animated projects, like just for crowd shots, they're like, we'll just draw all the people who work on here to fill out the crowd. Why not?
I mean, they do that all the time. It's nothing unheard of.
Well, it's just fun. I think it's fun when the animators themselves are like, oh, hey, look, it's me in this crowd shot, and they'll point it out. I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, we didn't even really talk about the actual like the animation or like the visual style of this, and
they're. Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
I was gonna say some parts are animated really well. There's the whole chase scene in the bar or the barn where it's really great, and then there's some really jank ass stuff, which is probably for time.
Yeah, I definitely was gonna mention that too. But I feel like there's definitely a ratio of like really fluid animation to the sort of stilted stuff. But I mean, like, I get it. I'm thinking of just like, when the actual show comes out, like what the ratio will be like on that. And I feel like if they're allocated the same budget for doing the show that they were like for the movie, then I feel like, the moments are going to be, they'll definitely fluctuate a bit, but
I feel like a lot of the, like really smooth animation, a lot of those like happen in the musical number. But dude, the first time it really hit me and it like kind of offsetting is when they're all like piling into the van, running away from the barn hillbillies or whatever. When Aaliyah shows up for the first time, her animation where she's like wobbling around in the front seat is just like unnervingly smooth for some reason. It's just it is hella fluid.
I mean, just even as soon as that, like the opening numbers of like Arlo, like that scene that we mentioned about him, like imagining dancing like on the boat and stuff, like a lot of that stuff's just like it's animated beautifully, like, and that's the other cool thing too is like you, if you watch through the credits, there's like little like onion skinned versions of like a lot of the animations that show up like in between the cast lists and stuff. But it's fun to sit through the credits just to see that stuff sort of like in full, development. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, definitely. If you're watching the movie, definitely sit through the credits and just kind of drink it all in. It's cool to see.
Yeah. I just because I think John had mentioned it in his post when this was like kind of just trying to make people aware of this. This entire production was done during COVID.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, like this is all done within the last year. And like for something like, especially with the amount of animation that is just like really well done, and like getting the music done and just everything. And I'm sure they did a lot of this like at home. And I know it's been really difficult for a lot of productions to like try to like do distance work.
From what I've heard, people have been thriving on it, so I don't think it's all that bad.
Well, no, I remember at the beginning, a lot of people were really trying to figure it out, and it wasn't like till late in the year that people were really starting to get into the groove of it. But no, it's just like I'm sure it was difficult, especially in the beginning of the production, just trying to figure out how to get this movie done. And I think it came together really well despite the conditions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see, like, just how the show will turn out, because I definitely do want to check out the show, having enjoyed the movie as I did. So
yeah, I'll check it out.
Whether we decide to cover it on the show will remain to be seen. But I mean, I would definitely recommend this movie. I feel like it's definitely worth a watch.
I definitely think if you have small children, this is a good movie. And I mean, like I said, even as a person who does not care for musicals, I was mildly charmed by this movie. Kyle, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Nope, I'm good.
Nothing at all? You've said your piece?
Nope.
Okay. Well, all right then. Well, guys, I think that'll about do it for this week. Arlo is on Netflix. I assume everyone and their mom has Netflix at this point. Yeah, give it a watch. It's a quick movie. It's fun. If you like it, then maybe stick around for the TV show that I guess is supposed to be coming out later this year. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, let us know in the comments on various pages and whatnot what you thought about this movie, if you checked it out and all that. But everyone stay safe, and we will catch y'all again next time. Bye.
Later.
Thanks for listening. You can find all the links to our social media pages in the episode description. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and join our Discord. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. The Ink and Pink Club is happy to be part of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network. We'll see you next time.